And we've got an idiot's corner here already. Stop being ignorant. It's illegal to arrive in the UK by small boat without documentation. Stop lying to the general public and stop with the fascism of pushing your social engineering agenda onto the majority of the country who are against it. So those are the people that Suella Braverman is appealing to. Very stupid racists and liars. 3 is the number that you need. 26 minutes after 11. I'll read this text because it's confused me slightly. I listen to you most days and rarely agree with any of your views. Just for the record, if you start a text with that line, I often don't bother reading the rest of it, even though it usually says, but today I think you're brilliant. It's just such an odd way to introduce yourself. You know, hello, I'm James. I think you're an idiot. But by the way, so, however, today you have nailed it. 100% well done. As an ex-police officer who was one of the few who would stand up against wrongdoing in my area, and was subsequently forced out, I know how bad it can be. The only reason I'm confused by that, and I appreciate you thought it was a compliment, is which of my views do you disagree with? If you're someone who stands up against sexism, racism and homophobia. I'm just trying to work out into which category the disagreement would I mean, well, anyway, perhaps you'll let me know. But thank you for the thoughts. Gene's, I think, probably a contender for Idiot's Corner. I'll let you decide. Why on earth is James pushing his woke ideology, belittling callers and assassinating Boris Johnson's character? I've just pointed out to you that Boris Johnson assassinates his own character every time he gets out of bed. But it gets better. Boris Johnson has more integrity than other leaders we've had, Labour ones especially. Yes, he's made some stupid moves, but we all make mistakes. Part of being a leader is being human and being flawed. James's view of politicians is totally unrealistic. So there is someone subscribing to the notion that woke ideology is a bad thing. If you want to talk to me about what motivates these people, should we have a look in Idiot's Corner? Here's Tony in Church Langley. I'm just listening to you and your Remainiac callers who haven't got a clue. Tony, when people ring in and say, I voted for Brexit, and then explain the circumstances under which they've come to regret their idiocy, to use their own words, that you can't then text the radio programme and say, I'm listening to you and your Remainiac callers. Do you see why that's really thick, Tony? Probably you don't. The Indo-Pacific Basin is an area of huge economic growth. The EU is contracting and you can't even understand that. Yeah. So, Tony in Church Langley, your local shop, right? Let's imagine it shuts down a couple of aisles, but a shop in Kuala Lumpur opens 10 new branches. That's good, right? Yeah, you're gonna open up a trading arrangement with the supermarkets in Kuala Lumpur, are you? Good grief! Stay away from scissors. I think a quick visit to Idiot's Corner. Dave's in Purley. He writes, James O'Brien back on today. If you vote Brexit, you are an idiot. When will this idiot be pulled off the air? Yes, Brexit has caused a problem. The stupidity of our politicians has made it worse. The radio goes off at 10. That's a shame, Dave. You won't be able to hear me acknowledging your existence today. But I don't think everyone that voted for Brexit is an idiot. This is the whole point of my entire position on the issue. People like you who fell for it are not idiots. And there comes a point when you've been presented with so much evidence that you were conned. If you continue to insist that you weren't conned, then you become a contender for idiot status. But as it stands, as the first caller reminded us, there were enormous amounts of effort, a lot of it deeply dishonest, on your social media, encouraging you to do this thing. There were outright and very shrill denials that what happened this weekend would ever happen, despite people who understood what third country status would mean telling you that it would happen. And then, as Andrew reminded us as well, there were plenty of people who cast their vote expecting the government to lead us into a sort of Norway-style scenario, or even a Switzerland-style scenario, which may not, in the second case, have done away with the border issues we saw this weekend so completely. It would have addressed a lot of the other problems that Brexit has caused. So, Dave, I don't think you're an idiot. Despite all of the evidence to the contrary, I still think that you were a victim of a very nasty political con job. So, I mean, this is what I mean by Idiot's Corner. Here's Tony in Luton. You really don't know what you're talking about. We voted Brexit because there's too many people from the EU coming into England with criminal records. Tony, these are checks on people going out of England. The checks on people coming into England are still minimal in comparison. So, well done you. Harry is in my text already. Ha ha ha. You sad, bitter individual. You just can't get over it, can you? Even if there was another vote, we would leave. And even if there was a general election tomorrow, Conservatives would get in. Ha ha ha. About that. And I'll read this out from Mark. But reading between the lines on this, I think you're almost questioning your own convictions here. James, you are a joke. Only see it your way. This is issue with you presenters, that you end up like Gary Lineker. You're supposed to have impartial views. You constantly force people to see it your way. I'm not forcing you to see it my way. The facts are. You're feeling forced. Why do you want to cling to the idea that these people deserve to be denigrated and described in the way that someone like Suella Braverman or Scott Benton describes them? When I give you the detail, the perspective of, for example, the United Nations Refugee Agency, and you feel almost forced to abandon your previous opinion, to use your own language. It's because your previous opinion's wrong, mate. It's not a question of being like Gary Lineker or not being impartial. I'm telling you the facts, and the facts don't fit the feelings that you have got. And the reason why you've got those feelings is because they have been very carefully fostered and fermented by people like Suella Braverman and your man Scott Benton and much of the UK media. And no doubt Facebook as well and social media. But the feelings are wrong. The feelings aren't based on facts. They're based on prejudice. So it's not me that's forcing you to question your own opinions. It's the facts that I'm sharing with you. Idiot's Corner this morning. Dear James, I wish you well. I am so pleased we left the EU. Still am, always will be, and it was the right decision to leave. And so I click on that, thinking, oh, this will be good. Let's see the reasons. And that's where it ends. It just says, thank you, best regards, David. Because I get the first 3 lines of a message on my screen, and then when I click on it, I can read the rest. So I saw that, and I thought, oh, this might actually be good. I think he's going to say, I've also got a business, and the EU has had the opposite. Leaving the EU has had the opposite effect on me. I feel sorry for the lace manufacturer, but my business is good. But no, it just puts several O's after the S on the word so, and then says he'll always think it was the right decision to leave, and then says thank you. So I think Idiot's Corner is probably the suitable repository for friend David, don't you? Here's one. James O'Brien, I hate you. You are so anti-UK. You make me sick. I'll tell you in advance that this bloke's texted from a number that I've found online linked to a business opportunity, which I may share the details of with shortly. Our country has been...
in Idiot's Corner?
Well, it might be worse than that. Our country has been given away. 1 million people voted for Khan to be mayor, and they were all Muslims, and 50% of them were fake votes. This will stop this rot. I tell you what, I wouldn't rent a farm off this genius. Oops, gave it away there. Didn't mean to do that. This will stop this rot. Have you been to Southall lately, or Slough? Because that is how the country will be in 30 years' time. America refers to us as Little India, and they have every reason to do so. Here it comes. I'm not racist, he says. I just like a clean, honest country. And unfortunately, even our Prime Minister can't pay his own taxes correctly. So that's the kind of person that this policy appeals to, by the sounds of things. Quick visit to Idiot's Corner. Here it is. So you're now accusing doctors and nurses of racism. Make up your mind. No, I think what we're looking at here is almost certainly unconscious bias, which is, of course, something else that the kind of racists who complain about the translation costs in the NHS work very hard to convince themselves and other people doesn't exist. I suspect our friend here in Idiot's Corner probably thinks that unconscious bias training is a waste of money, because that's what the Daily Mail has told him, or the Daily Telegraph. 4 times more likely to die if you're a black woman in the NHS than if you're a white woman. So you've got 2 choices. Either the staff there are virulently racist, they are sort of Enoch Powell tribute acts, or epic amounts of unconscious bias are in play. I know what I'd rather believe, but I don't know what I can believe until you tell me what's happened to you. Oh, here's one. Again, I can't tell whether this is coming in because someone's desperate to get into Idiot's Corner, but I'll read it out anyway because it made me smile. I think this radio station is so right-wing, it's just not worth listening to. Goodbye. To which I say goodbye.